What's up, Internet? Don here from DonDoes30.com, bringing you another hacking tutorial. And I'm going to answer probably the most common question I've gotten since I started posting these tutorials. Now, I've posted a lot about hacking and gaining access to systems that are within your network, meaning within your local area network. But the number one question I've been getting is, Don, how the hell do you hack someone outside of your network? Let's say you want to hack someone down the street or across the state or across the country or across the globe. How do you do that? They're not necessarily on your network, but they do have access to the internet. Now, my answer to that is simple, but we have a lot more steps to take than the normal process that I've been showing you, and I'll go through all those steps today. First of all, let's go ahead and load up Metasploit because we're going to be creating a reverse TCP shell. We're also going to be setting up the handler in a way that when someone connects to you, they're going to be connecting from outside your network, and we're going to bring them into your network. Now, what I mean by that, you have to have a little bit of an understanding about how private and public IP addresses work. Now, your public IP address is the address that your service provider gives you, your internet service provider, that's out there pretty much in the wild, out there in the open. Now, your local area network is what we've been focused on mainly in the previous tutorials, right? We've got, let's say my local area network, I have about 5 computers on there, okay? So when I'm hacking from my Linux box, I'm basically just hacking within this small group of subscribers or small group of people within my network. But let's say we want to hack this guy or this corporation or whatever the hell the case may be. They're going to have to come from their point, from their internet to your internet, and then we're going to have to bring them into the local area network. Again, this is going to take a little bit more of a little bit more steps to set this all up, but I'll show you exactly how we do it. All right, so let's go back. I'm going to bring up the Metasploit console. And first we're going to do what we did in the last tutorial. We're going to go ahead and use a Windows interpreter. Reverse TCP. Okay. And we're going to show options, or lowercase show options. Okay, now this is what's different than the previous tutorials, and this is what you're going to have to do. This is going to be the file that you're going to send to your victim. It's going to be an executable file that basically tells their computer to connect back to yours. Now, the local host we've been using has been, historically in the previous tutorials, our local area network IP address. But today what we're going to do is set our public IP address into here. Now, how you find that out, there's a great site. It's called whatismyip.com. Just go there, and this is your public IP address. This is what's out there live in the wild in the internet. That's your IP address from your service provider. So what does that mean? This is our public address that we're going to set this to. So I have no real good way of doing this, of course. Let me just see if I can get it over here. All right. So for the file that we're sending to your victim, we're going to set the local host to 118.189.13.178 or whatever your public IP address is. Okay, and we're going to hit enter. And again, I just like to confirm. All right, so that's our public IP address. They're going to be coming back from their computer and connecting to here. So what the hell does that mean, and how do we get it from there to our computer? All right, so our next step is going to be what we, or actually, let's go ahead and generate this before we move on. So we're going to go to our generate help, and the file type, we're going to compile an executable, an exe file, and we're going to name it, just for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to name it, let's say, let's just say virus.exe, just for the hell of it. All right, so we created our virus.exe. There it is. All right, now if the victim runs this, nothing's really going to happen for them. Nothing's going to happen for you, nothing's going to happen for them. So let's set up what we call the listener and get that ready. So that way when they are going to connect, we have something up on our computer that could handle their connection back to us. All right, so we're going to use the exploit multi-handler, and we're going to have to set the payload to what we set the file, the quote-unquote virus for. That way everything matches up. Meterpreter reverse TCP. If I could type today. And again, now this is the other thing. Let's show the options, okay? This is listening locally. Okay, so this is going to be your LAN IP address, meaning your local IP address. And to find that out, we're going to do the same thing we always do, ifconfig. All right, and there's my local IP address. Now I'm going to keep this up because we also need this in just a minute. All right, so we're going to set the local host on the handler to 192.168.10.102. Okay. All right, and let's go ahead and just run that handler. Now if you look, the handler is listening for a connection on our local IP address. The file that we created is going to send that to our public IP address. So how do we connect the two when it comes in? Well, there's a process, or there's a function of your router called port forwarding, meaning that when something comes in from the internet, it'll forward it to a specific port on your local area network. What the hell does that mean? All right. So log into your router. Now your router is obviously going to look different than my router is, and how you log into your router is you check here. You have your default gateway somewhere. Okay, for some reason it's not listed, and I can't remember the command to. I'll do this. ifconfig all. All right. Now, usually you'll log into your default gateway, okay? And for mine, I believe it's under routing. And each router is going to have a different type of name for it. Or, oops, I got logged out just for making this tutorial. Each router might have a different name for it. Maybe it's under access. Sometimes it's going to say port forwarding. Mine says virtual server. Who the hell knows why it does that? Now we're going to enable it. I'm going to put Meterpreter. All right, TCP. Now remember the public port, and the port that we set it on was 4444. So our public and private ports are going to be to what we set it initially. And we want it to forward the request from the internet to our local network, our local IP address. So 192.168.10.102, and we're going to add that port forwarding, and it's going to take a little bit, and I just want to confirm that it has been added. All right, there we go. So we've got our Meterpreter, our port, and the IP address it's going to. Now we have the link between the public IP address and the local IP address. So what's going to happen is when that guy outside of your network runs that program that you send him, the virus.exe, that program tells him to connect to this, your public IP address. Your router is going to say, hey, I recognize that port. I recognize 4444. I'm going to send that off to my buddy here on the local area network. And when that happens, your handler over here is going to pick up on that. So it's that simple. A lot of extra steps there, so go ahead and practice. Now, I don't have a computer outside of my network that I could run this on, unfortunately, to show you what it looks like when the connection is made. But if you've seen any of the other tutorials where we go ahead and connect through a Meterpreter or reverse TCP, you'll see it's exactly the same thing. So this would come up to an MSF command line, and we could type in all the same commands that we have in the past. Anyway, I hope that's informative, and I hope that answers all of the questions that you guys have been having when it comes to hacking outside of your network or outside of your local network. And this is very powerful, so be sure to use this only for legal purposes. Maybe you have a remote computer that you want to connect to on a daily basis for some reason, and this is the way to do it. And again, this will work anywhere that someone has internet access and could access into your public IP address. and your router will forward it directly to you. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and write them below. Other than that, keep checking out the tutorials and subscribe. I'll be posting a couple new tutorials within the next week. Thanks, guys.